Are you really my mother? You know,
Wow.
and she had literally had to show me a birth certificate, but still didn't convince me,
Wow.
because I had this image, and that was the other thing. Like,
Mhm.
even though you told me your truth, I still made up a story. That became my story, that for me to make sense of it. So telling everybody I was adopted was, I found that people were more compassionate and felt sorry for me.
Sisters, hey, little girl, are you looking for hope in a world that has lied to you about who you really are? Grown woman, holding in story she needs to tell what God really wants you to do in this world. In His name, hope to break free from the shackles and the lies.
Welcome back to Staci Speaks Hope. It is a joy to have another amazing guest. Today we have with us, first of all, the host of Cruising on the Edge, Carol Cruz, who is an advocate, an entrepreneur, a coach, a consultant, and a speaker through the lens of being a certified peer recovery specialist. Carol shares her life experiences and stories with those people that she serves and supports. And we're so glad to have her here today. Carol.
Dr. Staci, yes, this is exciting. And as we met on the platform of my seven figure podcast.
Well, congratulations for taking the plunge and getting started. I'm so glad that you have found your voice and that you're sharing your message. So
Thank
let's get
you.
into it.
Absolutely.
My favorite question. What do you know about your little girl? What do you remember about her?
As I knew in preparation of that question, because I've watched a few of your videos and your podcasts, and from where I come from, I'll first start that I am biracial. I have a white mother, and a African American father. Both are deceased.
Mm,
And as a child, you look for your identity in those that are your caregivers. And my earlier days, I'm going to say around 2 or 3 years old, my parents never married. Just share that. Again, 1963, we were under unrest at that point. John F. Kennedy was our president. And the nation was just in an uproar. And my parents had met in New York, and
mm,
my mother was would go to the dry cleaners where my father worked, and like they say, the rest is history. They met. I became that secret.
oh,
um, and there's not a lot of remembrance other than getting from my siblings, my half siblings, over the course of the years. But to really direct into that question, what do I know or remember about my little girl?
if you saw yourself in today's episode, the quiet, the hiding, the feeling that staying small was safer than being seen, it once kept you safe. I get it. What I want you to know today is there's nothing wrong with you, and there never was. A way to get started, if you don't know what to do, is to take the Little Girl Games archetype quiz. Helps you see the things that show up in your adult self that are tied back to the little girl. I guide you through that because I know what it's like. Take the quiz. Remember to be gentle with yourself, love on that little girl, and let her tell the truth and be the one to listen. All right, back to our episode.
I think I was more of a spectator.
Mm,
because, and I say that as an observer, because I was also in a facility. We would call it an orphanage back then. My mother's family, my grandfather didn't want her to bring me home.
mm,
And so she gave me custody, and gave over me to my dad. And I live with him and my older brother, Mark, who is still with us. He lives in Texas. And I have a another brother, Wayne, who passed away back in 2016. And he was already off to the service. My mother, what she has told me, would visit me, but there was an occasion where uh, the babysitter, where my father would drop me off and walk my son to my brother to school. The woman who owned the daycare
mhm.
called the welfare and said that I was being abused, sexually abused.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know, again, I didn't know what I didn't know at the time. And from there, they placed abandoned children, abused children in these facilities that were still located in New York, scattered through New York. And this one was particularly in Manhattan.
Mm,
And I was there for 18 months, is what my mother told me. I remember her coming in to visit with me and bringing me toys and clothes.
mm,
Um, but at that meeting, that was the only time I saw any of those items. This
oh,
facility, as my brother had told me, and my mom too, would collect them. I don't know what they did. They might have sold them. They might have given them away. I don't know. I do remember my little girl, Carol, loving this beautiful white furry muff that my
oh,
mother bought me. And it had a doll's head. It had a white
oh,
doll's head on top. Because again, you didn't find any
yeah,
biracial dolls or black dolls back then, right?
right. No.
And so again, I know I'm leading into this because my story is broad, and I'm trying to bring it in. Um, there was a visit that my mother, I don't remember my father coming to visit me. I didn't find out until later on, but I do know that my mother was very angry at him for
Mm,
not protecting me. I don't know. I don't believe she believed that he had abused me.
mm,
Um, but he definitely did not trust him. And so um, our relationship was estranged for many, many years. When my mother took me out on a visit, she never brought me back. And here I found myself now at the age of three, almost five. By this time, because I went into the facility at the age of three,
okay.
and so but I was almost five, and here I was in this big house in New Jersey, a lot of farmland around, and this older gentleman who would come with my mother to visit was my stepfather.
Okay.
And he looked like Colonel Sanders. And so when I said in the beginning, I think as children, we do look for our identity through our caregivers, our parents, our grandparents. That was my example.
Mm,
And to be moved into predominantly white neighborhood. And
yeah.
so when seeking out who Carol was, or this little girl, Carol, I think I abandoned her. I think I was more of a spectator
Mm,
because, and I say that as an observer, because I was also in a facility. We would call it an orphanage back then. My mother's family, my grandfather didn't want her to bring me home.
mm,
And so she gave me custody, and gave over me to my dad. And I live with him and my older brother, Mark, who is still with us. He lives in Texas. And I have a another brother, Wayne, who passed away back in 2016. And he was already off to the service. My mother, what she has told me, would visit me, but there was an occasion where uh, the babysitter, where my father would drop me off and walk my son to my brother to school. The woman who owned the daycare
Mhm.
called the welfare and said that I was being abused, sexually abused.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know, again, I didn't know what I didn't know at the time. And from there, they placed abandoned children, abused children in these facilities that were still located in New York, scattered through New York. And this one was particularly in Manhattan.
Mm.
And I was there for 18 months, is what my mother told me. I remember her coming in to visit with me and bringing me toys and clothes.
Mm.
Um, but at that meeting, that was the only time I saw any of those items. This
Oh,
facility, as my brother had told me, and my mom too, would collect them. I don't know what they did. They might have sold them. They might have given them away. I don't know. I do remember my little girl, Carol, loving this beautiful white furry muff that my
oh,
mother bought me. And it had a doll's head. It had a white
oh,
doll's head on top. Because again, you didn't find any
yeah,
biracial dolls or black dolls back then, right?
right. No.
And so again, I know I'm leading into this because my story is broad, but I'm trying to bring it in. Um, there was a visit that my mother, I don't remember my father coming to visit me. I didn't find out until later on, but I do know that my mother was very angry at him for
Mm.
not protecting me. I don't know. I don't believe she believed that he had abused me.
Mm.
Um, but he definitely did not trust him. And so um, our relationship was estranged for many, many years. When my mother took me out on a visit, she never brought me back. And here I found myself now at the age of three, almost five. By this time, because I went into the facility at the age of three,
Okay.
and so but I was almost five, and here I was in this big house in New Jersey, a lot of farmland around, and this older gentleman who would come with my mother to visit was my stepfather.
Okay.
And he looked like Colonel Sanders. And so when I said in the beginning, I think as children, we do look for our identity through our caregivers, our parents, our grandparents. That was my example.
Mm.
And to be moved into predominantly white neighborhood. And
Yeah.
so when seeking out who Carol was, or this little girl, Carol, I think I abandoned her a very long, very, for a very long time.
Mm.
So I didn't know who she was. I created this image of what I thought other people wanted me to be.
Mm.
I also dealt with my mother's alcoholism and my stepfather's abuse. So that pushed me even further down
Mm.
to who was Carol, who was little Carol.
Yeah.
I think that's why drugs and alcohol and untreated, undiagnosed mental illness um, was part of my journey.
Wow.
It was too scary to look to see who I was. So it was better to utilize these drugs to mask
Yes.
that person.
Okay, let's take a breath on that one.
I know. I'm writing a book. Hopefully
That's
it'll be out by the end of the year.
you have a story to tell, and I love the way you brought that piece to the front. There's a lot of trying to figure out and trying to assemble an identity of your little girl.
Yeah.
And in my work, I call that those are those lies, the
Mhm.
seeds of the lies that were planted.
Mhm.
And there was the not remembering what happened at dad's house for 3 years in
Right.
those first 3 years, going to another a place that was not home with other children who had lives that were in turmoil and in a place where one could say unloved.
Mhm. Mhm.
So before five, those were the elements of identity. And then having this lady come in and see you, but not take you until she did.
Mhm.
Then she took you to a world that was foreign because you lived with your dad. So you saw black people at home, but now you're in a home where there were none. And then there was you,
Right.
neither black nor white, or both at the same time, depending on how you could understand it at that
Mhm.
age.
So to
We,
the message of hearing my mom say, and she didn't use the word rescue, but that was kind of the
mm,
theme that I rescued you. I took you out of the throes of this evil place.
mm,
And but I felt like, as we use that metaphor, going from the fire to the frying pan,
yes.
I didn't see any difference, other than, and love was spoken and from my mom and from my stepfather and from my siblings. When I got to meet, I have two siblings on my mother's side and I have two siblings on my father's side. And, but the distortion of love.
Mm. That gives me chills because that's so huge.
Yeah.
So I don't know who I am, nor do I know what love is, because what they say certainly doesn't feel good. And if
Mhm,
love is supposed to be this good thing,
mhm,
what do I do with this?
mhm.
So the clarity, at least that you can state, that's so important in this journey.
Yeah.
Obviously, because you're not at the beginning of it. And so when we talk to our audience and we want people who are at the beginning to have a little bit of guidance and hope to be able to look back and tell the story has to
Mhm.
come when you're a little bit down the road
Yeah.
and can name the experiences. You said it
Absolutely.
didn't feel very different when you were brought after you were rescued.
Mhm.
Can you say a little bit more about that?
I say that it didn't look different because it was chaotic.
Hmm.
Uh, the confusion, I love you, but I'm going to abuse you. This is how I'm going to show you love. And
Hmm.
when I say abuse, it was sexual abuse that I experienced from my stepfather. And the abandonment was the same. Here I was taken from my father, abandoned and thrown into this place, didn't see my parents, didn't really know who they were. I thought there was like this strange white lady coming to see me. You know,
Oh,
I remember asking her on many occasions, "Are you really my mother?" You know,
wow.
and she had literally had to show me a birth certificate, but still didn't convince me,
Wow.
because I had this image, and that was the other thing. Like,
Mm,
even though you told me your truth, I still made up a story. That became my story, that for me to make sense of it. So telling everybody I was adopted was, I found that people were more compassionate and felt sorry for me. So that brought me the attention, a different sense of attention. Yeah. So the similarities were in my mother's alcoholism. I felt abandoned because she left me in the company of this person who she didn't love when she married him. She married him out of convenience, and she told me so as I got
mm,
older,
hmm.
to keep a roof over my head, to us, our head,
Yeah.
safety, security. And women,
received.
Back then we did, right? That's
Yeah.
what we did. We got married. That was our job. Find a good husband, have 2.5 kids, white
Yeah.
picket fence. At least that was the image of the upbringing where she came from.
Right. Meanwhile, the misery that she self-medicated
Hmm.
and caused for you
Yeah.
in the name of, and the very thing that got you placed into the facility
Hmm.
was the very thing that happened when you were taken out of it.
Right.
The levels of irony in this and are just so profound.
Mm.
And I know have built the woman that you are today.
Yes.
It's ironic that you said, because I talk about the lies that become the truth. Well, the lie was this mother that I have doesn't really love me, right? Or I don't know if she's really my mother. So it's let me make a truth, make another story. And the truth is, oh, I'm adopted
Hmm.
because what I really want is to be loved. And if people saw you as a little girl who got adopted, you were
Right.
more lovable because they had compassion on your story.
Right.
Because the real story also was too hard to tell.
Well, we were told not to tell it.
Exactly.
That was the secret.
Yes.
You don't air your dirty laundry.
Yes.
And, to add to that part of my identity or making up the story also made sense because it stopped people from questioning, that's not your real mother,
Right.
or, you must be adopted. So I'm like, okay, and I'm
Right.
adopted.
Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
And
stop
again,
asking me questions because as you see me now, I love to talk, but that as a child dealing with that type of trauma, I was very shy. I was not outspoken. I didn't have a voice. So little Carol was deeply pushed down every incident, every experience, every event that was chaotic. And even on the happy days, like going to the park or, going into New York to the Museum of Natural History on a school trip, I wouldn't allow myself to get too happy for too long because
mm,
eventually it was going to end.
so you were conscious of that.
Mhm. I believe so.
How long did that last, Carol? At those putting those like I can't have fun, I can't be happy. How long did you know that, believe that, think that, or did it morph into something else?
I think it definitely morphed into as I got older in my adolescence, always looking for approval from
Mm,
others, looking to fit in,
yeah.
uh, so let me use drugs and alcohol, right? That
Yeah.
they don't care what color my skin is,
Mm,
and so that when you asked me how long did it last, I'm going to be very honest. I'm 62, going to be 63 next month. I was diagnosed with complex PTSD at the age of 60.
mm,
And that diagnosis and getting into the proper treatment and that is when the windows and doors rushed open and I saw myself probably for the first time.
oh, I'm sorry, it brings tears
I
to
said,
both
I
of our
got my
eyes, right?
tissues.
I know, I don't have mine. I didn't know we were gonna hit this. Wow.
Yeah.
And what a gift that is. And at the same time, you've got to wrestle with
Hmm.
60 years and
Hmm.
nobody could tell me this.
Even the
And
birth
the
of my
joy of
son. He's 31 and he's a dad of triplets
wow.
and he's an amazing dad. Um, he was my awakening. I
Mhm.
stopped using 5 days after he was born and
Wow.
I got into recovery. and I started my journey in recovery. And I thought that here I am. I'm in recovery. I'm doing the work. I have this child that, yes, in the beginning, it was all about him, that I was staying sober and in recovery for him. And then it became I needed to do this for me. But
Mm,
still, in that, I struggled
right.
because who was I? I'm
Right.
trying to phrase it in the right way. Who was I?
Yeah.
I didn't ever see myself being a parent. That
Mm,
was not in my
really?
cards. Oh yeah, because of the
Wow.
lifestyle I lived. I was in
Yeah.
homelessness. I was
Mm,
homeless during my whole pregnancy with him. And that was my choice because I
mm,
moved myself away from, by this time, my mother had found recovery. She was close to 20 years in recovery when I
okay.
got into recovery. And I had so much shame,
Mm,
built up shame and guilt, which was all driven by fear that um, I didn't see myself. I had been married once, divorced very quickly, no children with that person. Here I got pregnant while I was in active addiction. Don't know who my son's biological father is. And we've had that conversation as he's gotten older. But again, it was just that I didn't imagine I'd even deserved.
mm.
So I call it a divine intervention because it could only have been God.
Yes. A question came to mind when you said in fear. Do you know what you were afraid of?
I think I was born into fear. As
Mm,
when I say that, I know after having my son and yes, doing some therapy, and then also seeing how his development, that fear, I believe, was embedded in me when my mother had me in her.
mm,
And I think that a lot when we hear generational trauma,
yes.
it starts in the womb.
Yes.
The stressors, the fear, and I always feel that all emotions are driven by fear.
Yes.
Jealousy, anger, resentment.
Control.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all driven by fear. So I think there wasn't just one, I can't pinpoint just one instant or one moment
Mhm.
where fear was, I think it was always with me. I've learned in my recovery walk that fear is always going to be in my life, just like suffering. Suffering is always going to be around, but it's my choice. Do I want to have it kick me in the butt, or do I want to yeah, come on, fear. I know you're there.
Yeah.
Let's go. You know, I think acknowledging it and building awareness around it, it doesn't have as much power. The more I talk about it, it shrinks.
Mm, I love that. I with the scripture that's ringing in my head, God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. The
Yes.
juxtaposition of fear will come, anxiety will come. All these things are talked about with an antidote. What do you direct your focus on? You can either
Right.
focus on the fear or you can focus on that faith, the thing that gives you hope to say,
Yeah.
you're going to be managed. You can't
Mhm.
take control. You're not going to take over. You're not going to dictate my life.
Right.
So that's that's amazing and great advice. So in your journey,
Mhm.
your son catapulted you into recovery.
Yes. In so many ways, yes.
and and he was born healthy. Did he have any
He was
issues?
born healthy full term. He was 6 pounds, 13 ounces. You wouldn't
Oh
know it
wow.
because he's 6'6" now, and he's a correction officer.
Wow.
And that's how he can handle three kids all at once. Uh, but yeah, he wasn't short of difficulties and learning difficulties. But this is how, at each step forward in my recovery, helped me to reach and find those people that could help me
Mm.
to help him.
Yes.
I think if my mother had the amount of support that I have gained, things may have been different, but I
Hmm.
also believe things happen for whatever reason they happen for,
Yeah.
and I no longer regret the
Mm.
my past. I have learned and I've learned anew, and especially I didn't grow up with my biological brother Mark, who is on my father's side. I found him in online
Oh,
on
wow.
peoplesearch.com. I first found Wayne, who was out in Sacramento at the time,
Oh,
and then I
wow.
found Mark, or he already had contact for Mark. And so we had a reunion, and I was just talking to him the other day because he had to go for eye surgery yesterday.
Mm.
And we met in um, we met in Texas. I got on a plane for the first time at the age of 41.
Okay.
Brought my son with me, who
Oh,
at that time we called him Mini Mark because he looked like a Mini Mark.
oh, wow.
Um, and coming off the plane and walking towards them, I finally saw myself.
Oh,
I saw myself through our smile. I have a picture on my mantle over, and the smile, and I, it was again a new journey to feeling whole.
wow. Seeing a piece of yourself on a face that wasn't yours
Yeah.
let
Yeah.
you know, oh, I really do have people. Those are my people.
There's my people. And knowing that he had seven daughters,
Oh,
my brother Wayne didn't have any children. He got married once back in the 80s and divorced and, kind of lived the bachelor life, long 30 years in the Air Force service.
wow.
But and he was the healthiest of the three of us, and he ended up passing away, jogging,
Mm.
doing what he loved in 2016, as I mentioned earlier. But when I started to meet my nieces, and I met one of them first in New York, I was like, oh, okay, there's where I got my thighs from. But I got my mother's butt. It's like I didn't get that part, you know. But it was almost like building this $6 million person, right? Like, or well, of course, I don't have $6 million, but it was building myself from the ground up. Like recovery started me on that journey
Mm.
to putting away from the things that were numbing me. Um, but this was a whole different blank canvas.
Wow. Now it's funny because as you say that, I would picture them being integrated, but recovery, dealing with the pain by numbing it was one thing, but then to I just pure identity. These people are share a bloodline with me, share
Mhm.
characteristics with me, and dare I say, wanted to meet you, wanted to connect with you. So there was that reclaiming, hey, little sister, we
Mm-hmm.
want we want you in our life. And auntie, we want to get to know you.
Yes.
And what I
Yeah.
thought earlier is the things that you have gone through was for the people that you've helped.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it was a trial of an experience and the effects of that you get to name it, that you got a diagnosis for it,
Right.
is one that probably many people could have gotten because of the life experiences that they've gone through.
Mhm.
But to go get that diagnosis again, lining up the pieces, putting them together like those puzzle pieces.
Right.
Now
Mm-hmm.
you're shining
We
forth.
are not people that wake up one day and say, "Oh, I think I'm going to be a drug addict." You
Right.
know, environment, family dynamics, all of those things, bad health, bad eating habits, a lot of things are contributors
Yeah.
to, I think, the addiction itself. which
Hmm.
I believe it is a disease. Some people think it's a choice, and that's fine. Everybody's open to their own opinion.
Hmm.
But I think what what's missing in a lot of people's recovery, and I in the work that I do now, I do crisis call. From my home, I work for a crisis call center, crisis intervention, behavioral health,
Hmm.
provide resources and referrals. But a lot of times, even when I was working one-on-one or in treatment centers, methadone clinics and things like that, what I did notice the very much the similarities, and this is where I'm so grateful to have a lived experience that I can, not to throw in somebody's face, well, if I can do it, you can do it, you know,
Right.
because
Never.
that's not the case. We used to come from a cookie cutter system of addiction recovery and treatment. It's
Hmm.
changing now. We are finally meeting people where they're at, even in the place in use by utilizing harm reduction,
Mm.
to get them at least stabilized. But the
Yeah.
majority of people that I have worked with don't come from a, white picket fence family.
Right.
There is chaos, there is separation, there's abandonment, there is even parents using together,
In front
parents
of their
using together
children.
with their children.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's the generation that's happening now
Right.
in where it took me 10 years at least to get to where I needed to be in treatment.
Mm.
And I was in homelessness 2 years, 19-year-olds,
Yeah.
20-year-olds, are fully in the throes of addiction, and a lot of it is the disconnection. And COVID didn't help.
Right.
It
Right.
hurt many of us we know
Yes.
that didn't have an addiction, but for
Hmm.
the recovery community or for people struggling with addiction, domestic violence,
Yes.
mental illness, it was lethal.
I was a principal at the time, and I thought of all the children who's who came to school as their safe haven,
Yeah,
that had to be at home, that might have
right.
not had enough food, that were mistreated physically, emotionally, psychologically, and had to be at home for those 15 months. I I have seen it when they came back. They
Yeah,
weren't the same.
yeah,
So for sure.
yeah.
Well, Carol, I am so grateful for the work that you're doing, for the insight that you have, and would love for you to just share a nugget of inspiration, especially because you were able to dissect.
Mhm.
There are women who are watching who have struggled with addiction, who might be struggling right now, and addiction being chemical, psychological, emotional
Mhm.
response to life and all the elements of life, as well as even in that, it didn't help you find Carol.
Right.
What would you tell them to find their little girl who's their woman today, with and
You know,
without?
I love that question because, and there is no way that I could have prepared myself, but I do daily readings. Sometimes I do read, daily inspirational readings. I even post things on Facebook. I believe in a lot of modalities of spirituality, not
Mhm.
just one. I do have a belief in God and other modalities. I practice in recovery dharma, which is a Buddhist inspired recovery, because again, it brings me to that place of enlightenment in a different way and holistically. And I have daily readings, and the reading I have today is Living in a Life of Awareness by Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. And Don, his father, wrote the Four Agreements.
Okay.
Be impeccable with your word, don't make assumptions, right? And the title of, and I also journal every single morning. I've been doing that faithfully for the last 3 years, ever since I was diagnosed with complex PTSD. And today's title is Stepping Outside Your Story.
Wow.
And I'll just read the practice because at the end of I won't read the whole thing, but at the end, the practice today, remember that thoughts come and go. You do not have to agree with every one of them. With awareness, you can come from a new agreement in your mind that serves your highest purpose, as well as consciously renew old agreements that still ring true. And so, what I get from that, and what I mostly share with people to bring that sense of hope,
Yeah.
is that yes, finding your story or finding your sense of identity is is really important. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of ups and downs, ebbs and flows. And I can tell many people, please don't give up, don't give up, have hope, have hope. But I think we all define hope differently in whatever stage of life that we're in.
That's true.
It's different for me today than it was when I first started this journey. So I would say to as an inspiration to make that connection with that part, that dark part of yourself
Mm,
and that light part of yourself, because we all have both sides, right?
yeah.
Masculine and
Yeah.
feminine as well. Find those pieces. Get curious. Be curious. Ask yourself those deep questions that you don't want to hear from your therapist or anybody else. You get to drive this course. Make it the way you want to.
Mm,
Because I came from a very cookie cutter treatment recovery. 12 step is very, you know,
yeah.
and I realized that was, yes, it saved my life, but I needed, for me to reach outside my story, I needed to start from within. So the little Carol that I find that I see today is going to be on the cover of
Oh,
my book. And it's when I was in a little sailor suit in a black and white photo. I was probably around three-ish at that time. And my book title is Into Me, I See, and the transformation. I think a lot of us are looking for instant gratification, and it's a waste of time and a waste of energy. Take the energy you have today and focus on just one thing. That's all you have to do. And that one thing, and find that sense of an unconditional love. And I know I kind of threw out a few things,
oh, that's good.
um, but I think honoring your own journey and not feeling like you have to do it the way I did it or
Yeah.
someone else,
Yeah.
and free yourself of that.
I love it. So thank you, Carol, because
Thank you, Dr.
are
Stacy.
those elements are so necessary. And we do fall into the patterns of, especially women. I'm looking at her and I'm looking at her, and did I do it the way she did it? And I'm bad or wrong if I didn't. And that's my favorite line in coaching. It's like you're not bad or wrong. You're just where you are.
Yeah.
And what you needed at that moment was what you believed was the right thing
Mhm.
as you ask those hard questions. I love that. And the journaling. We talk about that. My workbook, No More Lies, guided workbook and healing journal.
Love
Lots and
that.
lots of journaling to stop and
Mhm.
ask the questions, to ask the little girl if she's hiding,
Mhm.
what does she have to tell you? Because parts of her still runs your life as an adult. That
Yeah.
scared little girl ran your life to say, you know what? This pain is so much we got to numb it out.
Yeah. And it
And
was a sense of survival. She
it
helped me
was
to survive even the hardest parts, even though I didn't know who she was. She
absolutely.
helped me survive things that again, I don't put that on anybody that I'm better than or I've experienced
Yeah.
more than the next person. But I still, how did I get so blessed? I said it to
Yeah.
my supervisor the other night. I got in
Mhm.
tearful after speaking to somebody or actually chatting with somebody that I couldn't, that wouldn't allow me to get in. And that was
Mm.
okay.
Yeah.
But when they disconnected, it affected me
Yeah.
to the point where what was it that really turned? Yes, it was my son, but there was many things.
Yeah. And it's so important to honor that little girl and to realize that even in that situation, what you did will have an effect on that person later.
Mhm.
What you said may ring in their ears long after that phone call. And it's
Yes.
hard for us to let go because we want to see the outcomes. We're attached to the outcomes. And so again, all of that
Mm,
plays into how we function in the world as women, the way we're socialized, the if then else. You go to school, you get a husband, you da 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 da.
mhm.
That conditioning, because I'm the same age as you are. So
Yeah.
almost you got me by a month or two.
Okay.
I'm in June. So
Oh,
just
beautiful. My
knowing,
brother's birthday's in June too.
just knowing how important these things are. So I love the elements that you brought out. I love the care that you've given and the integrity and the honesty and the transparency that you've shown. It makes a difference. If you're watching today and you've heard something that Carol said, take a moment and just, if you're here today and what Carol said really stuck out to you, anything resonated, put down just a comment to let us know what it was that resonated. There's freedom, there's overcoming fear, facing fear, there's
Mhm.
doing what you do to help others. You come up with the word, you come up with the phrase, but it's so important for you to know how important those hard conversations you have with yourself are to get you to the place of wholeness, of freedom, freedom from the fear, freedom from the stories, the lies that become the truth and alter the trajectory of your life, even when it's to the good for other people. We want you to get to the freedom so you can tell your story, just like Carol did. Thank you so much
Thank
and be
you.
blessed.
Thank you for watching Staci Speaks Hope. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. To schedule a free coaching call, the link is in the description.
Grown woman, holding in story she needs to tell what God really wants you to do in this world. In His name, hope to break free from the shackles and the lies that have become your truth and put blinders on your eyes. You built walls around your heart. You have plugged up your ears. Get freedom to hope's what you need.